Hey everyone, so for today's video I want to get directly to the topic. You know that I like to ramble. I want to try to avoid that this time. I'm going to talk a little bit about guns in schools. And the only opinion that I will give, I'm going to tell you a story about my experience with guns in schools. But I'll try to only give the opinion that I think most Germans cannot understand this problem in a way that is a bit different from the way that Americans don't really understand the problem. Clearly, Americans are very divided on it. I think the only thing everyone agrees on is that there's a gun problem in the U.S. However, really understanding it, nobody does. Nobody really understands it. It's difficult for anyone here in Germany to really grasp the extent of everything. Just as over there, it's difficult. Like, the U.S. is so big, and there's so many different people. Like, someone in Montana is not going to have an understanding of life in South Florida. So, like, it's not possible. Or, well, it is possible, but you know what I mean. Life in Montana is not the same as life in Florida. Life in Texas is not the same as life in Massachusetts. Something like that. You get my point. Kind of like life in Germany is not the same as life in Israel. Okay, you follow me? I'm going to tell you a little story. I graduated high school in 1998, a small town in northern Wisconsin. And Wisconsin itself is quite divided. I remember a time in the early 90s, at least, where they were talking about dividing the state, like splitting the state up to include Upper Michigan. If you don't know, Michigan is actually consistent of two peninsulas, so the state is split. And so there was talks about dividing Wisconsin basically in half and combining it with Upper Michigan, because politically and in just so many different ways that, yeah, it was like comparing city and country life, to give you an idea. So I grew up in the Northwoods of Wisconsin. Hunting, fishing, all of this was very common. A good part of my family were hunters. I never got into it just because I didn't care. But now when I was a teenager, I don't know how the rules have changed. I think from the age of 13, it was 12 or 13, you could take a hunter safety course, meaning that you could be trained to safely operate a rifle for deer hunting. I think it covered rifle and bow hunting for deer. And I think you could do that from the age 12, if I remember correctly. And then at age 14, you were able to hunt carrying your own rifle. When I was in high school, we had the ability, during the 2 weeks of hunting season, rifle hunting season, we had the ability to bring the rifles into school so that the guns didn't have to be kept in the freezing cold vehicles. Wrap your heads around that one. We were allowed to bring the rifles into school. Clearly, safe, not loaded, can't do that. But we had one specific classroom where the teacher allowed the rifles to be kept in the closet. Now, like, all of these would be in a case. Typically, it was a soft shell case. I'm sure some people had hard shell cases, but this is what I grew up with. You know, I'm sure most of my teachers were also hunters. So like, I grew up with a comfort of guns being around. This alone is something that a lot of people can't understand. I lived in a small town of like less than 1,000 people. However, I think a lot of people can relate. A lot of people in the US likely can relate to this. I recognize it's not the majority. So, in regards to owning weapons, guns in the US, that's a very difficult topic. However, it's strange that I can comprehend the idea of guns being in schools and feeling safe. Like, thinking of that now, it's pretty fucked up. But like, yeah, this was 1998, a year before the Columbine, this was up to 1998. A year after I graduated was the Columbine shootings, and we know a lot of things changed after that. So, yeah. So to my knowledge, I remember being told once that it wasn't allowed anymore. And I think maybe they were not even allowed to have them in their cars. I don't remember. Like, now I'm trying to remember rules in the school after I was gone, so it's impossible for me to know that. Yeah, so that being said, I hope you get my point. Like, it's difficult to get, even when there's a problem. And I don't want to get into, for this video, I don't want to get into the argument of like the politics and the money and the NRA and all of that stupid shit. I mostly want to point out how difficult it is to understand in different places. And that's like, so many people are coming from a different background. You know, like I know that there's, just like where I come from, such a backwoods, safe place. I'm sure that there's people like the opposite in the inner city that, you know, were threatened by guns every day. So it's something quite different. So not an easy solution, but I hope somebody finds a solution to the problem sometime soon. I think you all know what I mean, right? Anyway, it's a beautiful day. I'm gonna go do a little singing practice tonight, and yeah. What else? Oh, I'm going to the bike shop. Gotta get some stuff. I'm riding a different bike now, so I gotta get some things for it. Nothing else to tell you right now. So, what do you think of that story? I grew up with rifles in my school. Typical American. No, that's not typical at all. So, okay. Hope you're all having a great week. Take care. I'll talk to you soon. Tschüss.